on, and you're live, Sir Steven.
About damn time. Look, and this
Technological issues.
10-ish is 10-ish, I guess, but man, this was the most ish that we could like.
This
This
might
was
be the hardest ish we've ever done.
I was to the point of like, man, I don't even know if this is fine anymore, and should we just like reschedule? But I'm trying to make sure that we're staying on like the rhythm of the thing to keep it going. Because if we stopped, I'd be scared that we not do it again for a longer period, just because it would be convenient to not do it. You know, you got to keep that like energy into whatever it is going. But yeah, man, my computer. We talked about it, but everybody, my computer just took that whole 40 minutes or so to reboot, load up, and let me get in here and start talking. So I guess we had to threaten it with some technical violence, technological violence.
Speaking of the technological issues, I'm barely awake at this point because I'm off in edit land, but I was going through some of the footage last week and from PGF season 7, and I came across a clip that made me fall on the floor laughing. And it was when Keelan and I had come back in for draft day, I think it was. It happened multiple times that week, but like I know that this one was the first one, is that we had set everything up, done all the tests, done all the stuff. Everything was working perfect. We had everything smoothed out. We were like, this is going to go great. And we came in, we sat down, and Keelan like hit the power button, turned everything back on, and like nothing worked. And it was like, well, we got about 2 hours. Let's do everything we did for 12 hours yesterday in 2.
That yeah, and I wonder sometimes too, and I guess like I wonder less, but like I'm like, what are y'all talking about? How's
Yeah.
that? How's that even possible?
We don't know. Magic.
That's a thing that you like. What it was ready when we walked outside. What do you mean it's not working now?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's a huge reason that I'd stay in my own lane with as little dealings with all that stuff as I possibly can, man. Because
Like on the technical side of production. Yeah.
well, yeah, or just like the some of the switching, like we talked about, like getting some of the data back and forth and things like that is just like where it goes and how it ends up and how long it takes and everything that's involved in it. For me, sometimes is I don't have the depth of knowledge yet that it would make. So that's the biggest problem with it. Is just I don't have the depth of knowledge, and so when it goes wrong, it takes me so much more to get through it a lot of times.
Well, I mean, how often when you're getting a job, like when you're paying somebody to do something, like Keelan and I talk about this sometimes, is like mine and his job and people that do like that like producer, director, like the technical side of all of that and like moving everything around. Like really what you're paid for is to be able to fix something on the spot. Like if it goes on smooth and nobody has to lift a finger, which that never happens. Like that's the clip that we shared on social media where we were talking about it being like a kitchen. We were referring to the backside of production.
We late too, Chris.
Oh yeah, we're late, but hey, we're actually you're not late, Chris. You're on time.
Yeah,
for the technological.
We just started. You only missed us bitching for the first couple minutes, or me, at least me.
So I had a question in that of like when we're talking about how like expertise sometimes isn't necessarily knowing exactly the right answer in the beginning. It's knowing the right answer in the middle of the moment and fixing something and making the best possible choice in a bad situation. When you're in a situation like in jiu-jitsu or in like business or like when you're doing the different things, like what are some of the things that you start to like do to process it and like organize it to where you can fix it? Does that question make sense? Is that like,
I think so. I think
what's your process when everything goes wrong? Because things will go wrong, right?
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, and that it really depends. I guess the situation is, and that's how I approach my jujitsu a lot too. Depending on who, what, when, where, like that kind of stuff matters. But like, am I the person in charge of this thing, or am I a supporting role. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Because
Like
sometimes
knowing your role.
that's been what I've had to learn. What's worth and not worth in that way, but like what is my responsibility in this, and not trying to do too much. If things are already not going well, for me, the tendency is to go hard, right? Because it's like hard work. You got to work hard, and then but sometimes you can just do too much in the other direction still with good intentions, but still end up in a much worse spot in that way too. So
Because everybody's not working cohesively, or you're working towards a tunnel vision. Like, what do you mean by that?
yeah, just like you have you know, like what would I work on, you know? So like if I'm in a group project there's of sorts, or like the PGF, for
Right.
example, uh if I see something happening, or if I see something that's, you know, needs to be quote fixed or whatever, and if I just jump in and start doing it, then that could pull me away from my job that I'm supposed to be doing, and then that job's not being done well, and so now there's two problems where there was only one.
Mm.
And so, you know, trying to figure out in that way when, you know, it's not my problem, it's not my problem. You know, so sometimes things are going wrong, and that's okay. It's got to be,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I just got to keep doing my job the best I can,
To
and
bring
not,
yours to the
yep.
level of that you're
Or just to
expecting
keep,
in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If more people are doing their job the best they can, the problems are going to work themselves out sooner.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
On each end, if everybody's doing their job at the best ability, with the faith that the other guy's doing it to the best of their
yeah,
ability,
exactly.
then yeah,
I trust you're doing your very best at your job and what you're doing. And then you should trust that I'm doing my very best with what we're doing. And then in that way, we'll all get together and look at what's best for the project that we have. You know, like if it's the PGF, like I say, is like we defer to Brandon and Keelan mostly about what we're looking for, and like energy wise, and you know what I need to be doing. That's who I talk to for the most part. But then when it gets past that, it's just like I got to kind of make it up as I go. And so I just do I mean, that's what it is, right? And so I just do the
right,
best that I can to follow the energy, and like be on the energy of the moment more or less, right? Because I make lots of mistakes in the week that I just got to kind of quickly get past, and then do the right thing. And then that'll be, you know, pretty forgotten quickly.
right,
Any of the quote mistakes or whatever can get cleaned up, you know, because not doing it again, everybody's best intention, for, you know, from what I can tell. And so nobody's doing something that's just like harmful in general, right? That, you know, you might be, you know, lacking a little bit here, you may have missed something there, but everybody's genuinely doing their best. And so it's an easy, hey, do this instead, you know. And so that's I guess that, I don't know if that answers your question the way
no,
that
I
it
mean
should,
it
but
did. I mean, it's one of those things, like you said. I think the simple like term that you can use to describe what's going on there is that, like, when you get too many chefs in the kitchen, sometimes like you have the chef that knows how to do the whole job, but won't clear out of the way to let the others do their job because they see something going bad and they're like, oh, let me go fix it over here. And like you said, if they go over here to fix this, well, then they're not over there
it's
doing their
not for
job.
me.
And so then everything comes down, as opposed to it leveling up and people going there. I think when things are going wrong, I hear this all the time. Speaking of the PGF, what's up, Brandon? He's in the house. But like, one of the things that I hear constantly from the production crews, like when we work with the PGF versus like on other productions, and like not naming any productions, but like we said in that interview with Keelan, live production never goes right. Like, it's always something that's just completely on fire. But part of the art of it is keeping that fire controlled and burning that fire in a direction that is positive and keeps the like stream or broadcast or whatever you're on like moving. But like, the thing that I hear about the PGF the most, and this is what I personally see that works, is that like at the top to the bottom, everyone that does their job operates in a mindset that the entire show depends on their performance. Like, if they mess up their performance or they don't deliver, the whole thing doesn't happen. And it's for the most part, it never really like the streams don't cross. And that's what like Keelan, like with our documentary team, like we intentionally hired people and brought in people that were already like filmmakers or directors themselves. And that was like really intentional by Keelan, is that like he wanted them to be able to just be an autonomous multi-tool, is the word that we use when we try to like talk about who we want on the team, is like we want you to be a Swiss Army knife. And so you can be over here and you can solve a problem. The whole way this whole thing's always been built is the whole production crew gets there and we dump our backpacks out in the middle and we put a show together. And that's like that operation amongst the crew and the like team and everybody that's doing it. Like I think that that's the culture that like makes it work in the way that you're talking about. And like everybody kind of comes to the table with that mindset.
Yeah, I think so too, for sure. That's what makes it fun too, is that, you know,
That too, yeah.
that environment, and we work well in that environment. I feel like too, you know, it's been something that has been cultivated now over all these seasons, I think, and it's really getting dialed in a way that's, we talked about it too after, you know, when we were there the day after, it was like, man, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It didn't get too high or whatever, or too low or anything this time. It just felt like a
Time.
normal good, you
Yeah.
know. It's like, but I think that was the right, you know, I think that's the right feeling to have about it. You know, it's just like, it's routine, and this is what we, you know, we just do this thing and everybody does it. And so now we're good at it. And there's no,
But what happens, like we had a little bit of this conversation while we were there, is it like, but what happens when that like mountaintop becomes routine? Because like I think that that's another, like, because then it's just another mountain, because now you got to solve being on the mountaintop and it's just normal to be there.
well, again, I guess that's what you're saying, you know, again, is that this, if we want to turn it back towards that first question you asked, you know, in a way, or like in jujitsu, you know, it's not always that things are going wrong. Sometimes when you hit a new level, you run into problems, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that you made something go wrong or whatever, or that
No
it's
money,
going,
no problems.
yeah, or just even you didn't know that this would be a thing, maybe whatever the given
Yeah.
issue is now. You know, there's several thousand things that could happen. And so now you get to a new level and, oh wow, everybody's doing this thing now that they weren't doing at that lower level,
Right.
or they're capitalizing on this thing that I do, rather, you know, which had worked against everybody at this level before. But now that I'm up here at this, you know, higher level, they're capitalizing on it and they're catching me with it, you know, more and more. So then you have to be able to learn what the problem is, you know. And sometimes it's a simple fix. You're just leaving something unattended, you know, and you got to clean it up, or you got to learn a new skill set. You got to develop a new skill set in the way that you can do the job that you're being tasked with. And,
As
you
you
know,
evolve.
yeah, every time
Yeah.
it's going to be different, right? So
Yeah.
whatever you get good at early, eventually people are going to be able to beat that, and so you're going to have to beat what they're doing to beat your game. And so you'll have to be, you know, learn to be aware of what's happening. Like how, you know, Brandon said something one time to me. Uh, we were talking, just, and it's just like in a conversation about stuff, but he's that, you know, wake up every day and think of how to put myself out of business, because you
Yeah.
know more about it than anybody else does. And so if you're already thinking about that, then you're already a step ahead of the people who are trying to get ahead of you.
Because they're just trying to, especially if you find yourself ahead.
Right.
Now, you know, everybody's catching up. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
how do I get ahead of me? I mean, that's,
What can you do to be right? Exactly. That's jujitsu, right? That's what it is. If I get ahead in the hand fight, I know everything you're going to do now to try to stop me from getting to your neck.
yeah.
And
I remember hearing the Mike Tyson quote that I don't remember exactly how he said it, but he basically was, they asked him why, because he would get up at 3 a.m. and run. And they asked him in an interview somewhere, and plain and simple, he was basically just like, he ain't.
that's the
And I
thing
was like,
too.
that motivated me during a lot of my fight career, because it was like, well, when people look at you and go, what is the crazy thing you're doing in this preparation? It's like, well, if you think it's crazy, then I'm pretty sure he's probably not doing that.
Yeah, and that don't always mean that it's good too, right? That's what I said. That could be
Good point.
that's the thing too, is like, you know, doing the right actions.
You could go too hard or too
Right.
far.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a simple fix and you think it's a big problem. It's not like a thing that needs to be completely
Mm.
scrapped or whatever. It could be a simple adjustment, and that's where you're being, the best, I think, when you're thinking about it, because, for me, a lot of times, I use a personal example from jujitsu again, is like, passing guard and getting the underhook, uh, getting side control, all that kind of stuff that's what you do, and it's still the right thing, to do if you could do it. But getting to San Diego and rolling with Richie a lot, that was just literally the worst strategy to have almost in a lot of those scenarios, because he'd always get to his butterfly guard or throw up his rubber guard stuff and start you know making you play from there.
Yeah,
And then it would be dark stuff like that, right?
right behind it. Well, and that type of thing fed his game, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's like he'd go right towards all of his best stuff off of what was the right thing. And so I had to like adjust that strategy to where it was still the right strategy, but not always. You know, gotta have vision where you want to be able, where you want to go to be able to make the small changes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's tough, Brendan, right? If you don't know that, if you
You
don't
can't steer a
know,
ship without a map.
it's like a plan is important.
That's almost like a recurring theme. I should go through and find all the times we've talked about plans and just make a super show of just planning. That'll be a holiday show at some point.
So I think I realized through this show and other things, like I didn't really plan ever, for
Yeah.
real, not for real, not long term. And not to sound fatalist or anything like that, I just never had that mindset, I guess, of being in the future. It's like always trying to either be in the present
Right.
or whatever. And then I battled a lot to get from being like in the past, right? So you want to try to live now. And so I kind of stopped. I didn't really think about the future in that way. The plans were to get the things going that were going and do the best with them. But then, kind of like we talked about, I was like, then too many things started going, and it was hard to put everything with the right amount of energy in there. So you had to, pull some things back. It wasn't easy to just get it done. Like
Right.
I could always just pull the rabbit out of the hat on anything and make it happen. But then there was too many hats and too many rabbits. And so there's just
Sometimes you
like,
forgot about the rabbit and came back 2 weeks later and were like,
yeah,
whoops.
this was a problem.
I probably should have let him out, fed him something, give him some water.
Yeah. So you don't mean to, right? You're
Right.
used to being able to pull it off, and that's kind of the same thing with the PGF stuff. Bringing in some new hands, new eyes, new skill sets, and people have been really helpful for those of us that have been in it for a bit too, because they're showing us things that we didn't realize were gaps. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that's an easy fix. Let's
Oh,
just do
dude.
that.
Oh, dude. Talking about easy fixes. Me and Keelan had a revelation like a week ago where we figured out, like, to not get off in the nerdy stuff, but like we figured out time codes and like how to utilize them inside the cameras. And it allows us to basically cut out, like, without getting off into the details of what we do, is that like it cuts out like 3 weeks worth of work in like a day. And we were like, man, this would have been really cool if we had figured this out a while ago. But saying that, I think that you value it more when you kind of like discover it that way sometimes. But dude, I've had that conversation a few times since that, of that, like that little, like, it's like when the black belt's trying to give you the like one little piece that it's like, hey, this will make this way easier if you just set it up right. And you're like, yeah, but I get there from here. And you're like, yeah, but if you set it up right, it works so much better. And it's like, oh, that works in life too, don't it?
Mhm. Yeah, that's so funny because, like, and what you make me think about too is maybe what people talk about, the ecological approach in
Yeah.
jujitsu now too, is where you guys, like, y'all are learning as you go, and doing that is making it where you're having these discoveries.
Yeah.
And when you discover it on your own like that, then it's yours, right? You're like, oh, I got it. Oh, that's my thing. I did this. I came up with the solution to it. And it's not that that's wrong or whatever, but people, that's what we try to do as coaches anyway, is to help you reach that conclusion on your own. Like I can beat you to death with my own mindset, but that doesn't really matter until you take it upon yourself to like get the message. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of hard, Exactly. Exactly that.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Because how many times have we had conversations about stuff both ways? You telling me or me telling you stuff, and then later on it would come back around and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, somebody else told me that same thing that you said, and I think it's right." And it's a good call. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Good,
There's
good.
when you have strong teachers and like strong people, like my dad's one of those that like I've seen plenty of times in my life where I just like mutter to myself and I'm just like, he was right. Like,
Yeah, and you can't, again, beating somebody over the head with it doesn't really um, always help.
yeah, no,
You
yeah.
know,
Well,
it,
because it's like Brandon's saying, is like if you're not ready for the lesson, then like right here it's like it sticks better when you're ready for it.
it's on fire today.
I know, look at this.
It's killing it. It's killing it.
Kind of like how Gatorade only really tastes good when you're really thirsty. I don't know about that now. Like I've never once cracked open a Gatorade and been like
Mm, it's not bad, right? But it's not really good. I get what
favorite
you're saying,
Gatorade color
right?
go.
Blue,
Oof. All right, cucumber.
blue. Ooh, that's
Come at me.
disgusting. Cucumber lime one or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a aqua green.
Okay, with cucumber is the color of it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is that the flavor too?
Yeah, it's the flavor is cucumber lime.
Pass. Just give me some version of blue, and I'll rock with
Okay.
it.
Like frosty blue.
Yeah,
Any of the
that was
blues.
good. I used to like the purple a lot too back in the
Okay.
day.
Okay.
So, oh yeah, the salt
Oh yeah.
electrolytes,
The
man.
salt electrolytes.
The raspberry was my favorite for sure.
I was a fan of the raspberry.
I didn't get into the mixes that much, uh, but the strawberry, I think, and the raspberry were the two that I went to the most, and it was nice.
Did
Am I
you
frozen?
Brandon, did you just hijack our show for a salt ad?
Am I frozen?
No, you're there.
I'm frozen. We're frozen on my TV.
Oh, well, you're not
That's
frozen
funny.
on us.
Well, I'm just gonna
You're
keep
still
acting like
flowing.
it's. I'm gonna keep acting like it's real life here. And yeah, throw some salt at us real quick. We'll
Yeah, a
take
little
it.
bit of salt. I'll take salt. I'm down here in this humidity.
So he sent salt. They sent me some stuff
Okay.
between seasons before. I guess I didn't know that they were involved with the PGF in that way. I might be gone now.
No, you're not gone. You might be frozen now, but we'll just keep flowing with it. Talk to us like the voice of God. Tell us about salt.
They sent me a little care package with a bunch of different flavors in there. Those single packs, and I used them, for a while before the season. Then when I got there, they were at the PGF this season, so that's pretty
Right.
cool to get to meet and talk to them. And it's always cool to put a face with the product and the business or whatever that you're working with, and those people. Oh, I'm back. So yeah, it was good. They helped us out. We had lots of electrolytes, but man, I was on my feet for 6 or 7 hours pretty much every one of those nights.
That's a marathon, dude.
I would sit down a little bit, but it really didn't get much time to
We need
really
to
like.
get you one of those golf chairs.
What
You
is
know what I'm
that?
talking about? Oh, dude.
Mm-mm.
Like, so have you ever been to like a big golf tournament?
No.
Oh man, I want to take you to one because that would just be entertaining. The like so when you're walking around, so like there's the main holes where like they have the stadiums. Like, have you ever seen it on TV? Like how they play golf like at a big tournament?
Mm-hmm.
They'll have like stadium seating around like the major holes, and then the like rest of the holes you have to walk and like follow if you want to like follow somebody through the whole course. And so like there's these guys, like my grandfather used to have like 6 or 7 of these things, and it's like you can carry it and it looks kind of like a cane, but it has like 3 legs. And then like whenever you get to the hole where they're gonna do their little shot, you walk up and you like flick it out set it down and like lean up against it, and you leaning up against it keeps all three of the like legs spread out, and it's just like a little prop stool.
I'm not against that idea. I'll check it out. I'll look into that.
I felt like I sold that really well,
So
and I don't feel
Brandon
like
said
we
not to
sold.
hijack completely, but what you got, Brandon? What you
Oh,
want?
he hit us with a dot dot dot. But
You want to
I
have
think
you got
I,
a
I think
ribeye?
he's insinuating. Oh, okay,
Oh, the Constellation Network is up 280% since PGF.
okay.
Hmm. I
Everybody,
bet
check out
that's
the Constellation Network.
I bet that's completely related, 100% too. I'm not saying that we did either, but I'm not saying that we didn't.
I mean, it happened. It was a thing. I will
That's
say that
cool.
if we're talking about like and I'm not super educated, like I am, I've been around enough of the crypto world to where I kind of understand when they get off and start talking and things like that. But the crypto world getting involved with jujitsu has definitely like benefited every crypto company I've known that's ever like gotten involved in jujitsu. Like, the jujitsu community is pretty active in that. Like I've had multiple like different like things that we've done, like tournaments and stuff like that, where we've worked with different cryptocurrencies, and like every time they come back going, oh man, we got like a whole bunch of new users. So like we have an active audience right here in the jiu-jitsu crypto people. If you're looking for one, we have one that is pretty active, like right here. So
Yeah, I'm active. What's up?
you're active. What's your favorite cryptocurrency?
Constellation Network.
Good answer. We're getting good at this.
Followed by Intrana, perhaps. No, I had some Solana that I had
Okay.
in a little wallet for a while that I just opened up this morning. And so apparently it's went up a lot since last year or whatever it was, I guess.
That's the one they're using to do like the Decentraland stuff, isn't it?
I don't, I gotta say, I don't really remember even. I think I just got
Okay.
some and not even a lot of it, but just let it,
But just kind of
sitting.
like stuck it and forgot it
Yeah, it
type
was
of
just
thing.
sitting there. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
just saw it this morning.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Um, but yeah, I don't really have a ton of it. The information on it is like, I've bought and sold a not a bunch, probably to you people, but to myself, it was a bunch. Uh, you know, maybe some Bitcoins and Ethereum and stuff like that. Dabbled in some NFTs, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So the NFT thing I thought was cool.
Was
And
Solana to purchase the PGF NFTs? Okay, maybe that was the deal.
that's what it was. Okay, yeah. That's I remember us using that because the NFTs, the thing about the NFT thing is that it's cool for the like technology that's behind it. I think that it got hijacked by that whole like art trend and did like all that like wild stuff where people were paying like $600 million for like a JPEG. And it's like I mean, which culturally that makes sense because we do that to everything. But like the like idea behind the smart contracts and being able to like keep up with that, it's cool. But I've yet to see anything that like manifests itself into like what they keep promising of like the perfect thing. And like some of these Constellation Network, I think that I heard them talking about
Probably
it,
not.
and like all the other ones. And when we were like when I've heard them talk, like these are the like generation of those that are like, okay, they're starting to deliver on what they've been promising this whole time. So like I'm interested to see what the next few years holds with that.
I think we saw, and then when we talked about it, even then too, is that there's the early adopters, right? And
Right.
you gotta deal with some of the stuffs. But then now, like you said, people are getting better at it and they're figuring it out more, and they've had the time to work out what it is, more so, I think. Um, and so I think people are gonna be able to come through more with what they're doing. And the governments are starting to get involved, which is not necessarily what you want, but that just means that the money's going to be
It just
in
means
it
the money's
more.
there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's actually the money is there. But I don't know. Like it's not something that I'm super staked into at this point to where it's the thing. But
I was just pointing
yeah,
out that I was
that
right.
we talked about. You mentioned it too, and this is one of the things we were most excited about when we were talking about it back then too. Was like the
Yeah.
tokenization stuff or whatever, where maybe it could be attached to something that's lasting, or could give access similar to certain things with like the PGF stuff was doing, or it would give
Well,
you.
fans of things become owners in them, and you then like democratize. Like the thing that I remember it being pitched early on was that like you democratize like being a fan.
Mhm.
And so like now like we all could have a say in, our favorite bands like tour dates, or like our favorite like movie, like, oh, we really want to see a sequel to that movie. Now they finally made one because we all voted in the NFT group, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you have ways to like track that. And then on top of it is too that like say, because like I'm a big fan. I don't do it as much now. Like I don't like dig down into music and find like the super like independent artist and like all that stuff. But like I'm a big fan of like discovering people early and like watching them grow as an artist. Well, imagine if you discover somebody early and then become a fan of theirs, and then because you become a fan of them and support them when they are out there playing stadiums, well, now you're getting tickets to like VIPs, or like thing. You get all these kind of benefits to be a fan and to help somebody make it. Then like, well, now it's less like being a panhandler sitting there being like, donate to my Patreon. Like, no, like you're joining in on this cool thing that we can build. And it's like from an art perspective, or from like a production perspective, or a movie, like however you want to look at it, is that like you allow to grow culture that way a
Mhm.
lot deeper, I think. And you give a lot more power to the people, which makes it interesting, like you said, that like the governments are getting involved. So like that kind of like makes it weird on the whole thing. But and I don't know how I stand on it, but like it's interesting. And like you said, it means the money's there, it means the support's there, it means that the popular opinion is taking it that direction.
Yeah, and then the crowdfunding or whatever kind of idea of some of that stuff, I thought and think is interesting, and I don't know enough about it still that it's really viable or whatever that would work. But
Maybe we should have somebody on here soon that wants to talk to us and educate us on the current crypto world. If we have any fans out there that hear this, we want to talk to you about crypto.
mhm, teach me something I don't know. I'd be happy to listen to y'all and, and get some information from you. Uh, yeah, because that's the way to go, right? Is get the information from people who are already up there doing the thing. Uh, cut out a little bit of that learning process if you can, and get to somebody who's the black belt instead of a bunch of white belts out there just trying to hammer it together.
Yeah. That's dad in his industry, which is the power industry. He and I have been talking a lot about it because they've now been talking a lot about AI, and so like that's like the new technology and bringing in all this different like NFT. They've talked about NFTs in different ways that like people could pay their power bill and like things like that. Like now that that's all getting involved, like people that were looking at it 3 4 5 years ago and being like, oh, that's just a fad or whatever, now they're having to catch up and educate themselves. And it's fascinating having that conversation with people that operate just in the normal world, and they're trying to like adopt these new technologies, and like what that's doing to the normal world is crazy. But it's the consensus that like I'm reading a book right now that he and I are both like going through, that it's like the AI Republic, I think is what it's called. But it's basically talking about like all these new technologies and saying that you you have to adapt, and you have to just understand how to work with the new technologies and how to use it. And like there's all this fear mongering and all these things about like, oh, like the computers are going to take over and all this stuff, and it's like, nah, it's just going to become part of the working thing. And they may take over, but I mean,
You
like
seen
books took
Terminator?
over. I mean, dude, like, yeah, but like books took over, and then, radio took over, and then TV took over, and then print media took over. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not necessarily in those orders. I know I put some of those out of order in timeline for the history nerds, but I like you hear what I'm saying? Is that like they were worried that books were going to make people stupid because they couldn't remember things anymore. When the printing press came out, they were like, they're going to mass produce books and people are going to lose the ability to remember stuff. So they're going to be stupid because of books. I mean, okay. So, I mean, and there's a lot of dumb books printed. So, I mean, it's like when you talk about the technology, there's going to be a lot of dumb technology that doesn't make it. Like some of the biggest technological advances that we have right now were based off of really dumb concepts.
Like what?
Facebook. It was a hot or not website on a college campus.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And now it's the primary way the entire world communicates. Like when Facebook crashes and people are like, oh, you didn't go on your Facebook. It's like, no. When Facebook crashes, it's like WhatsApp doesn't work. This doesn't work. And when you go into like other countries where there's not necessarily the best telecom like set up, Facebook and Meta, like all their different properties are how they communicate.
Yeah, WhatsApp's big.
Right. Yeah. And so you're like, if you go and say, well, this new technology is stupid or it's going to make people are dumb. And it's like, well, a hot or not website became that. It's like, all right, well, with the right pathway and the right intentions and the right things, then I think that anything can end up being like mass adopted.
Like you said, just keep working through the process, right? It started as one thing, and then that's a social thing, right? It was a social situation. You got people talking about stuff and different things, and that's what people still use it for a lot right now. Even if they don't say that, it's still a measuring stick for a lot of people. They do a contest with each other online for who's living what, that too. So
it's gotten magnified. Like when we're talking about social media, like people competing on social media, hasn't that just magnified what people really do, or like their internal dialogue? Like they're constantly trying to measure stick themselves.
Well, I think that's what always happens, right? When stuff comes along, is you just become more of what you would have been given the opportunity, right? And so, yeah, people want to flex or have dominance or show hierarchy over other people in some way or feel something in that way. Like I think that's a natural kind of thing to some degree, to where it may equate to safety back in not too long ago times, that if you're wealthy enough to have stuff that you could probably pay people to defend you or whatever kind of situation, stuff like that. And we maybe haven't moved too far past that in these last few hundred years, and people are still acting on stuff that maybe doesn't need to happen anymore with the way that the world's set up in this way, and I think that's where a lot of people get mad and say that, people, and it's true too, people just say things online now that they would never say face to face.
Well, so it gives you a different kind of courage. Yeah.
Well, it's the same idea, right? Like, you got all this stuff out there and you're trying to be dominant over people, but if they could just roll up on your fence and holler at you, about it, then what's up? Do you just have a bunch of stuff for me here at your house now? Or
I mean, but like I do have a genuine question, because people talk about that, and I think that we see it because it's in a town square that we're all looking at, and we can see where people are yelling at each other and where people are doing things that they wouldn't normally do. But then it's also like, I mean, it's not like there weren't fights and weren't wars and bar fights and shootings and all that before the internet. Like, was everybody just a bunch of docile, nice, like monks walking around all of a sudden? Or were people more aggressive towards each other in public? Or was it, you get what I'm saying? Is that like, it still happened even pre-internet. Oh no. Did I freeze you, or are you frozen in thought?
Sorry, I was thinking about what you said, and then this dude commented, "Who are you?"
I don't know who we are.
And that just really I
mean, his name's on his shirt. He really likes a guy named Steven.
I did that on purpose. See if anybody would notice. What was your question now?
I totally forgot because that threw me off. Oh, were people just like docile people, or like we're
They
talking about
were.
like the aggression of the internet.
I think so. I think that people that were or are in person, and then if they don't have to meet you in person, that same person would be more likely to do or say stuff that they wouldn't in person, you know.
Yeah,
And then also, I think there's a lot of people that may be more aggressive in person than they might be online, even in some ways. So,
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
I think back that people have always been people. That's what I'm saying. Like somebody's always wanted what somebody else had, and that's why that stuff's in the Bible. Like people have always wanted to try to take something somebody else has had, and somebody else has always tried to flex on people and maybe lord over them in a way that was inappropriate due to their, you know,
Power
yeah,
or
income or whatever
money
that. Yeah,
or
exactly, stuff like that.
food resources.
Yeah,
I
whatever
mean,
resources
if
you
you
have,
really cut it down, it's resources, and like that could be food, that could be water, that could
it's
be power.
survival. Yeah,
Yeah, survive whatever the survival mechanisms are of the times. Then somebody is grabbing it, controlling it, and then controlling the people that need it. Ooh, I'm interested to see what Egghead has to say about this. Also easy. Here we go. Also, easy to escalate online without the possibility of reading the wrong tone. Meaning, yeah, see, that's very, very true. Is that like online or in text? I mean, how many times have you been in a text message conversation, and it's like that Key and Peele skit where he's like, "Oh, you don't care," like, and the other guy's like, "No, I don't really care." It's like totally different tones,
hmm
but that's not what I meant.
yeah, that could be true too. A lot for sure. AK knows a lot about that, where he says stuff online and people be checking up on him. Uh, so yeah, so
Tis the danger of a sports writer, though. A sports writer
I mean,
is a
it's
dangerous
real
life.
life. It's real life, and that I don't know. It's just funny, and so yeah, I don't know how we got down that whole road either, but Meta, yeah, they're
Yeah, we were talking about like the invention of Facebook, where it came from, how it became all these different things, and then now people are sitting here talking about how more
yes,
aggressive everybody is online. But it's like, well, people were always aggressive to some extent. Did technology make it worse, or did it just put it back?
yes, because you couldn't get to somebody though.
So like when you went home from school,
You couldn't
you
do
didn't see those
anything.
people again
Yeah,
until tomorrow.
yeah, or even further away, like you're in Cancun. I couldn't mess with you today.
Yeah, yeah. But you catch
I'd
me
have
in
to
the you
I'd have
catch
to
me in the Whole
send you
Foods.
a letter, and like it's this really really
How
well
far
thought
back are
out
we going? Is it
letter.
1865?
I mean,
You couldn't send an
what
email?
that's the internet. That's what
Oh,
I'm
okay,
saying.
okay. We're going pre-internet.
So,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, snail mail. I guess that was. I mean, man, that just shows how young I am, though, because I just went 1865 when we started talking letters, and letters were definitely like in the 90s.
man, you can still send people letters.
I mean, you can still send letters, yeah.
People like that.
Like getting letters. I like getting letters.
People like getting mail, yeah, like not bills. If that's all people get most of the time now is like a bill. So
Yeah.
you get something that was, oh, Isaac sent me a postcard from the pyramids. That's
Do you
cool.
like this is a total side note on that question on the fact that like do you appreciate a brand sending you something in the mail even if it's personalized? Like do you appreciate anything coming from a brand in the mail to you other
What do
than
you
something you ordered? Like just junk mail.
just like paper,
Yeah,
junk,
like
or
they just
whatever?
send you mail. They just send you like deals and like 50% off this or
Mhm.
20% off that or like whatever. Do
It
you care about that? Do you
no,
ever execute on it? Do you ever utilize those?
rarely, but
Okay.
I will say that it has happened. I think
Okay.
but it's not as much as
It's
papers
that was
being
just a
sent.
side question because I've sat
I
in so
usually
many
just throw them
meetings.
away. Yeah, I usually just
Yeah.
throw them away,
Yeah. I've
and
sat in
unless
so
it's
many meetings where they're like, well, people like a heartfelt like thing and they'll do like the little like signature from the CEO that's
oh,
like
you mean
printed
like
on
that
there.
thing? No, I hate all of those.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it's like a
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like if you fake handwrite something to me, I'm throwing it in the trash immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, because like that's, I mean, as somebody that's been like in marketing and all that stuff, like I can't tell you how many times I've seen budgets where people are spending like whatever amount of dollars
I don't
on like mailing people stuff, and I'm like, why are you still doing that?
I don't mind being sold to. Like if I
You
want
don't?
something, not if I want something.
Okay,
Like, but that's what I'm saying is like, don't act like you're my friend though because you're trying to sell me something.
okay,
If
okay,
we're
okay.
friends or whatever, that's different in that way too. You know, like if we're already cool, then we're already friends. We can talk about stuff or whatever, just in general. But don't like present it like you care more about me than you do because
Just
you don't even just you don't yeah
based off
it's
that.
some
Yeah.
weird way even like that, like a handwritten letter from somebody that's not even really handwritten that you printed,
So
you
what
know.
you're feeling on the ad models that is what's taking over the internet right now? Like currently right now on YouTube, like if we were like a little bit bigger and a little bit more of a channel, like ad pre like rolls of ads happening on the platform, does that bother you as a consumer or no?
So I think that's a little bit different. I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't have to
Oh,
watch
okay.
ads.
I'm sorry. I'm a plebe. I'm sorry. Okay.
um,
So you like subscription models. You like to just go ahead and pay for it.
I
We're
prefer to
here.
not watch the ads every time
Yeah.
I wanted to do something. If I was going to do something, at least with YouTube, I don't pay for everything
Yeah.
that would have ads or whatever and stuff. But I think for that that is. But like for do so like on other social media sites or whatever, some of it is definitely very annoying, and I end up blocking whatever and say, "Show me nothing
Different
like this
ads.
again,"
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
because it's repetitive or it isn't, really what I want at all, or I looked at it one time and now they send me too many of them. It's the same idea with the like you're
Y'all are
saying with
making
the
me feel
junk
poor.
mail, uh, with the junk mail stuff. It's the same idea there. But then sometimes like a well done ad online will get my attention to something and it's like, oh,
I agree.
I didn't know this was a thing. That's
But
interesting.
well done, like a
Yeah.
well done ad that's
Yeah.
good, that's that,
You're not just
and
yeah.
I don't even mind targeting at that point. Like, if it's well done and it's like, "Oh, man, y'all are definitely watching my emails," like
Yeah, so like that's the thing is like if it's something that's useful that I've been thinking about or
yeah,
wanting to do and you have it and you make a good pitch, that's what I need. I don't need high pressure. If you start pressuring me too much, I'm gonna say no, even if I want it. That's
yeah, just
that's
because
what
it feels too salesy.
yeah, that's just one of my ADHD traits too, is like that pathological demand avoidance. It's like
Ah,
if I was gonna do it anyway, don't tell me to do it because now I'm not gonna do it.
because saying it to me
Yeah,
now
you
makes
make
me
yeah, now it's now
overtly
you
not wanna do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Now you expect something of me that wasn't yeah, no, so I don't wanna do that now. But I was gonna do it anyway, so just let me do it, right? Kinda
Yeah,
like I was saying,
yeah,
like, don't press me too hard, like, I'll buy
yeah,
it, but
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
give me till next week to think about it, and make sure that it's what I wanna do or whatever, or if I'm ready to rush into it and just buy it, I will. Like, I'll tell you, don't even waste your time selling me, like, I'm ready. I try and then they still try to sell you, and it's like, "No, no, no, like, you've already won the game."
They just keep hammering it down, though.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, you're gonna love blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I know. That's why I'm here. I know I'm gonna love it. That's why I came to get it now.
I was already here for it. That's
I don't
why.
wanna do paperwork on it. I don't wanna do it like, just yes, here is your money. I would like my product. Thank you."
I feel that. Well, speaking of, I don't know why speaking of, but to close out the show, I got to go cook some Thanksgiving pies that I'm taking to the Friendsgiving potluck later tomorrow.
So,
So,
with complete ignorance, what is Thanksgiving like down in Mexico?
only people that are Americans that are here, like, celebrate it.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
I just got it from the peanut gallery. Just you.
That's fair. Look, and
but they,
so
but they're down for an excuse to bring food, hang out, and be around. Like it's
as
a very much that kind of culture of like, oh, want us to bring some food? We'll be there.
down. Yeah, as it should be, right? That's cool. And I just didn't
Yeah,
know. I didn't know because like to American people, that's like, oh, it's Thanksgiving. And to other people, it's like it's Thursday. You
that's exactly
so
that's exactly it.
you know, it's cool. But yeah, man, well, cool. It's good catching up with you today, despite our technological disadvantages.
Yeah, they become our advantages once we overcome our disadvantages.
Yep, I'm on figure this out between now and then, or not, and then we'll be back next Wednesday
10 a.m.
between
ish.
10 and 11. And
We'll
not
be
saying that's the
live.
time we'll be on. That's just saying when we're going to start between 10 and 11, and then we'll finish within an hour or two, depending on how good we feel.
Somewhere,
Um,
we'll just get to work, and whether or not somebody's got to do some cooking. All right.
Somebody's
So,
always got to do some cooking.
do you have anything that you're plugging right now? Anything you got going on? We're cooking for PGF season 8. What's going?
Yeah, that's basically it,
Weren't
I
you
guess.
plugging some
Otherwise,
backpacks or something?
oh, that was a joke. I was just
Oh,
joking.
I thought that was a joke. Oh, I thought it was
Yeah,
legit.
no, I was just Sean was in the match, so Schismatic Industries. I'll plug them again.
Okay.
Sean McCleary. He's a black belt down in South Georgia. We had a match whenever
Like
that match
2
was.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple years, last year, the year before,
Last
something
year.
like that. I don't know, whenever it was. And at some point, he was getting my back, and I swear I heard him say "stand up," and they were saying "don't stand up," apparently. And so I just stood up with him on my back. He's a full grown heavyweight black belt. And so I just stood up and like shook him off my back, basically.
Just shimmied him off your back.
Yeah. And so I saw the video somewhere. I don't know how I saw it again, but then I was like, that'd be funny. I had a one of the sound was on TikTok. And I was like, oh, so I really like these sentimental songs that people are playing over sports highlights. I don't,
Okay.
not
Yeah.
super excited. Everybody usually like, oh, you got to have the really bass and like all the really hyped up for you.
Like Arms of the Angel playing in the background.
Or just no, like nostalgic stuff.
Oh,
Or
okay.
yeah, like stuff is like, oh man, or things like that. So like I was like, oh, this would be funny to put something on there because it's like the joke is I've spent 16 years working the most technical escapes possible
To
and just learn to just stand up was that's been that's the best one the whole time. I didn't know, but Sean's in the match. He has that gear brand. I just thought it'd be a funny plug for him this week being Black Friday. I don't know if they sell backpacks or not, but they sell lots of other jiu-jitsu stuff. So I don't know. I'm trying to be.
That was funny. I legit thought there was a backpack. I'm actually in the market for a backpack. So like I was like, oh hey.
Y'all need somebody to plug your stuff. I'll make up an ad for you. I got you. Thank you, Egghead. I find that inspiration every once in a while to plug some stuff. It took me about 2 hours to get that thing made,
but it was spectacular.
There's 2 or 3 6,000 views and 48 hours of watch time. It's kind of crazy on a 20-second video or whatever. I know for people maybe for big number shows that's nothing, but for me to just look at it, it's like somebody's watched a 20-second clip, or enough people have watched it to make it like 48 hours of watch time.
20 seconds is the key. The short ones, the loop ones. I know. Just side note on our way out, the one that I made the joke with Brandon, where he was saying they want to play the hits, and I put the free bird over it. Is that slap triangle where he put it on like that stuff. If you got any stuff where you just did something like that, like a little loop de loop or a little like slap on triangle or like a little pop or something like.
I know. I gotta figure it out. That's just not been. I hadn't figured that one out in that way yet, right?
All right.
I got different kind of little humor stuff, and Brandon definitely has that dynamic movement play that he likes to make. In various forms, which is good. It's great. It's just I don't know. My jiu-jitsu is not that pretty, I guess.
Your jiu-jitsu is pretty.
It's just not that kind.
It's a different kind of pretty. There's multiple types of pretty. I don't know. We'll save this for next week.
Look, a river cuts through the rock, not because it's strong. It's because it takes a long time, okay? And it's really slow.
Word.